Picture this. You buy a new car for $50,000, and 3 years later, you're hit with a massive repair bill. Now imagine a 1966 Volvo P1800 with 3.2 million miles. That's like driving to the moon and back 6 times. While modern cars struggled to reach 200,000 miles, these vintage legends were still going strong after 500,000. These weren't just cars. They were built when manufacturers actually cared about lasting forever. Today we're counting down 12 cars that refuse to die. Hit that subscribe button because number 3 will absolutely blow your mind. Number 12, Saab 900, 1978 to 1993. The Saab 900 wasn't just a car. It was a Swedish engineering declaration written in aircraft-grade steel and Viking stubbornness. When Saab engineers designed this machine, they apparently forgot they were building civilian transport and instead created something that could survive Arctic conditions while hauling your family around town. Born from aerospace heritage, every 900 inherited Saab's military spec DNA in every component. The turbocharged engines were so massively overbuilt that mechanics would joke about needing NASA equipment to properly stress test them. These power plants regularly crossed 450,000 miles while completely ignoring normal maintenance intervals. The famous ignition switch positioned between the seats wasn't just quirky Scandinavian design. It was an anti-theft fortress, so effective that professional car thieves would literally give up and find easier targets. One documented Minnesota owner accumulated 687,000 miles on his 1986 900 Turbo, using nothing but regular oil changes and Swedish determination. In Nordic countries where winter lasts 6 months, these cars became the default choice for people who needed absolute reliability. They'd roar to life in minus 45 degrees Fahrenheit conditions when other vehicles were essentially frozen lawn ornaments. The cabin heating could warm entire houses, and those legendary seats were engineered by people who understood that comfort meant survival on endless Scandinavian highways. Number 11. Toyota Corolla, 1975 to 1987. While Detroit manufacturers were busy perfecting the art of planned obsolescence, Toyota quietly revolutionized what automotive reliability actually meant. The third and fourth generation Corolla wasn't just basic transportation, it was Toyota's mechanical manifesto that declared war on the concept of vehicle failure. The 4AC and 3A engines represented pure engineering genius disguised as economy car power plants. Single overhead cam design, bulletproof timing chains, and manufacturing precision that made Swiss chronometers look amateur. These weren't designed for impressive horsepower numbers. They were survival engines that happened to propel cars forward reliably for multiple decades. One extensively documented California driver purchased a 1983 Corolla brand new and drove it religiously for 29 consecutive years. When he finally traded it in 2012, the odometer displayed 734,000 verified miles, while still delivering 31 miles per gallon. The exterior paint had faded to primer. The interior fabric was threadbare, but that Toyota heart continued beating with factory-fresh rhythm. Here's Toyota's beautiful engineering philosophy. When these Corollas eventually aged past 350,000 miles, they didn't catastrophically fail. They simply developed endearing mechanical personality. The engine maintained compression, transmission kept shifting smoothly, everything just became slightly more characterful. In isolation-era Cuba, where replacement parts are mythical unicorns, 1980s Corollas continue faithful daily service maintained with creativity, determination, and occasional prayer. Number 10. Mercedes-Benz W123, 1976 to 1985. In the late 1970s, Mercedes-Benz committed what can only be described as automotive financial insanity. They over-engineered a car to such ridiculous extremes that accountants probably still wake up screaming. The W123 wasn't built to last. It was constructed like Mercedes expected these cars to rebuild civilization after the apocalypse. The level of over-engineering was absolutely mind-boggling. door panels so thick they could deflect bullets, body construction with more structural integrity than most buildings, and paint systems applied in layers so numerous they resembled geological formations. The legendary OM617 diesel engine was so massively understressed that highway cruising felt like gentle exercise for a power plant designed to run mining equipment. But here's where reality gets completely insane. Greek taxi operator Gregorios Sakinidis accumulated 4.6 million kilometers on his 1976 240D over 23 years of non-stop operation. That's equivalent to 115 complete trips around planet Earth. Mercedes was so stunned they personally verified every mile, flew him to Germany as their honored guest, and immediately placed his car in their corporate museum. The beautiful financial irony? Mercedes lost substantial money on every single W123 they manufactured because the engineering investment was economically suicidal. They forgot they were supposed to be a profitable business and decided to become a charity organization for people who demanded mechanical immortality. These cars didn't just survive the decades, they thrived, getting more reliable and characterful with each passing year of faithful service. And if you're looking for products to keep your reliable car running even longer, check out the premium maintenance items we've linked in the description below. They're absolute game changers for extending vehicle life. Number 9. Honda Accord, 1982 to 1989. Honda, during the 1980s, operated like that perfectionist student who absolutely destroys the grading curve for everyone else in class, while American manufacturers were slashing quality faster than discount retailers. Honda engineers were conducting 3-hour meetings to discuss the optimal metallic composition of door handle springs. The 1.8-liter CVCC engines represented pure mechanical artistry, disguised as economy car power plants. No overcomplicated fuel injection nightmares, no 17 different sensors perpetually waiting to malfunction, just absolutely pure mechanical efficiency that operated with Swiss chronometer precision and started reliably in conditions that would cripple modern vehicles. One thoroughly documented case, a 1985 Accord in Oregon, served 3 complete generations of the same family with unwavering dedication. Grandfather purchased it brand new, father learned parallel parking in it, and the grandson was still confidently driving it to college in 2017 with 512,000 verified miles on completely original drivetrain components. When they finally donated it to local charity, their total replacement history included tires, oil, and exactly 1 alternator. The manufacturing attention to detail was borderline psychiatric. Door hinges tested for 250,000 operational cycles, weather stripping engineered to maintain perfect seals for multiple decades, and interior switches that clicked with military-grade precision. In economically challenging regions where automotive failure means genuine disaster, these Accords earned the nickname Los Eternos because local mechanics witnessed them surviving conditions that would completely destroy armored military vehicles. Now, if you're loving this countdown of automotive immortals, smash that like button and subscribe, because we're just getting warmed up with these legendary machines that put modern cars to shame. Number 8. Volvo 240, 1974 to 1993. In 1974, Volvo engineers apparently attended a corporate meeting where someone boldly declared, "Let's build a car that's safer than nuclear bunkers and more reliable than planetary gravity." Then they actually accomplished exactly that ambitious goal. The 240 wasn't just built to last, it was systematically engineered to outlive your great-grandchildren and possibly several minor historical civilizations. The fundamental design philosophy was beautifully straightforward. Manufacture everything 4 times stronger than mathematically necessary, then add additional steel reinforcement just for absolute safety. The result was automotive transportation that resembled a refrigerator on wheels, but possessed the structural integrity of military fortifications. The B-21 and B-23 engines were so massively overbuilt that Volvo engineers tested them by deliberately running without lubrication until complete seizure. then completely redesigned them to survive even longer punishment. These power plants routinely achieved 550,000 miles with nothing but basic maintenance schedules. There's a meticulously documented 1984 240 in Oregon with 863,000 verified miles, still operating on completely original engine and transmission components. Here's the pure genius. While competing manufacturers frantically added computers and unnecessary complexity, Volvo stubbornly maintained what actually worked. Mechanical fuel injection systems that rural farmers could understand, manual transmissions that shifted with rifle bolt precision, and cabin heating systems powerful enough to warm modest residential buildings. The 240 became the unofficial transportation choice for practical people who completely ignored speed and style, but demanded something that would start reliably every morning until solar system collapse. Number 7. Volkswagen Beetle, 1968 to 1979. When Volkswagen engineers designed the Beetle during the 1930s, they apparently decided that automotive complexity was exclusively for show-offs. Instead of creating just another conventional car, they built what can only be described as a motorized declaration of war against mechanical sophistication and planned obsolescence. The Beetle wasn't merely reliable, it was survive complete societal collapse and drive confidently through the aftermath reliable. The revolutionary air-cooled design was absolutely groundbreaking. No radiator to leak, no water pump to fail, no anti-freeze to freeze. It was like constructing a car using agricultural equipment principles that somehow worked better than conventional automotive wisdom. The 1.6-liter flat-4 engine was basically mechanical immortality in aluminum form. Volkswagen engineers apparently confused automotive motor design with constructing survival equipment. These power plants routinely achieved 400,000 miles while being maintained with nothing more than oil changes and occasional valve adjustments. One extensively documented California owner accumulated 562,000 miles on his 1971 Super Beetle. Identical engine, same transmission, still confidently navigating mountain highways. The beautiful simplicity was legendary. Everything was accessible, everything was repairable, everything was designed assuming the nearest mechanic was 500 miles away, with only basic hand tools. Mexican taxi drivers called them Los Eternos because they witnessed Beetle's surviving conditions that would completely destroy modern vehicles. These cars didn't just run, they inspired religious devotion among owners who understood that sometimes the simplest solutions are genuinely the best solutions. Number 6. Ford Crown Victoria, 1992 to 2011. Ford's Crown Victoria represented the automotive equivalent of a cockroach wearing an official police badge. When Ford engineers designed this mechanical fortress, they asked themselves one absolutely crucial question. What if we constructed a vehicle that could survive being operated by the most reckless drivers in America 24 hours daily for multiple years without mechanical surrender? The Crown Victoria wasn't merely a car. It was a mobile armored fortress, specifically engineered to withstand punishment that would make other vehicles wave white flags in complete defeat. Police departments across America didn't select it for impressive speed capabilities. They chose it because you could literally drive it directly into brick walls, reverse out while laughing, and immediately resume high-speed criminal pursuits without missing a single beat. The 4.6-liter V8 power plant was so dramatically understressed that highway cruising speeds felt like politely asking a professional powerlifter to pick up a lightweight pencil. The cooling system was specifically designed for extended idle periods because law enforcement officers spend considerable time stationary. The electrical system possessed enough capacity to power accessories equivalent to small radio broadcasting stations. Here's the absolutely beautiful irony. When police departments finally retired these vehicles with 180,000 hard miles of abuse, they were genuinely just getting properly broken in. Taxi companies would immediately purchase them and confidently operate another 350,000 miles. Then, regular civilian drivers would purchase them and easily drive another 250,000 miles of reliable transportation. There are Crown Victorias with over 650,000 miles still providing rideshare services today with original drivetrains running smoothly. Number 5. Mercedes-Benz 240D, 1976 to 1985. Mercedes-Benz looked at other manufacturers building disposable cars and confidently declared, "Hold our schnapps while we demonstrate what permanent transportation looks like." What they subsequently created wasn't merely a sedan, it was the automotive equivalent of that reliable friend who never breaks promises, never requires emergency assistance, and somehow appears exactly when you need them most. The 240D completely redefined what built Mercedes solid actually meant in practical applications. These cars were so legendarily indestructible that taxi operators worldwide made them their exclusive choice for maximum duty applications. They deliberately chose 240Ds because traditional vehicles simply couldn't survive the punishment of continuous operation. The OM616 diesel engine was an absolute masterpiece of mechanical simplicity and industrial over-engineering principles. Indirect injection instead of complex systems, mechanical fuel delivery, and cooling systems specifically designed for tropical conditions while maintaining perfect operation in Arctic climates. One extensively documented Greek taxi driver, Gregorios Sakinidis, accumulated 4.6 million kilometers on his 1976 240D over 23 years of continuous taxi service. That's equivalent to 115 complete trips around planet Earth. Mercedes was so amazed, they personally verified every kilometer, invited him to Germany, and immediately placed his car in their corporate museum as proof of their engineering excellence. These vehicles transcended mere transportation to become genuine symbols of mechanical immortality that inspired worldwide respect among automotive professionals. In developing nations where automotive failure means economic disaster, the 240D became known as the car that never dies because it simply refused to quit running, regardless of conditions or maintenance neglect. Number 4. BMW E33 Series, 1982 to 1994. Before luxury cars became complicated computer networks on wheels, there was the BMW E33 series. The 1982 to 1994 generation wasn't just constructed as premium transportation. It was systematically engineered like BMW expected it to provide decades of spirited driving while maintaining absolute mechanical reliability. This wasn't merely a car. It was a four-door precision instrument that happened to include comfortable seating and excellent stereo systems. The chassis engineering was so perfectly balanced that driving enthusiasts still consider it the gold standard for automotive dynamics. Whether you selected the 2.5-liter inline-6 or 3.0-liter power plant, these engines were so beautifully understressed they practically begged for enthusiastic operation. The engineering philosophy was beautifully straightforward in its excellence. Create everything with precision manufacturing, use quality materials throughout, and never compromise on mechanical integrity. No planned obsolescence, no cost-cutting shortcuts, just pure German engineering excellence applied to every single component, from door handles to differential assemblies. One meticulously documented New York taxi driver accumulated 847,000 verified miles on his 1987 325i over 15 years of continuous city operation. It survived 3 complete interior replacements, 2 paint jobs, and countless minor repairs. But that legendary inline-6 continued producing smooth power like a mechanical symphony that refused to end its performance. These E30s represented the precision tools of the automotive world, not the flashiest, not the most powerful by modern standards, but absolutely perfect for their intended purpose. Driving enthusiasts, taxi operators, and anyone requiring transportation that combined luxury with legendary reliability chose E30s without hesitation, knowing they were investing in automotive excellence that would provide decades of faithful service. Number 3. Porsche 911, 1965 to 1989. In 1965, Porsche accomplished something that seemed completely revolutionary at the time. They took a rear-engine sports car design that conventional wisdom declared impossible and somehow created what would become the most enduring sports car in automotive history. The air-cooled 911 wasn't just performance-oriented, it was systematically engineered for applications where reliability mattered as much as speed. The early 911s weren't particularly sophisticated by modern standards. The interior consisted of basic components and functional hope, and the handling characteristics required genuine skill to master safely. But absolutely none of that mattered because the drivetrain represented essentially sports car immortality in mechanical form. The air-cooled, flat-six engines were officially designed for high-performance applications that never rested. In a sports car driven enthusiastically on weekends, they were basically just getting properly warmed up at 200,000 miles. The mechanical fuel injection and ignition systems were purely analog in operation. They could reliably function without computers, electronics, or modern diagnostic equipment. These cars created their own specialized cult following. Enthusiasts would purchase completely worn-out early 911s exclusively for the engine and transmission, then rebuild them into better-than-new condition. The air-cooled flat-six became so legendary that examples today command higher prices than when they were originally manufactured. One extensively documented California enthusiast accumulated 743,000 verified miles on his 1973 911S, driving spiritedly through mountain canyons. When they finally rebuilt the engine purely for curiosity, the internals remained within original factory specifications despite decades of enthusiastic operation. Air-cooled 911 became automotive shorthand for sports car that lasts forever in enthusiast circles worldwide. Number 2. Mercedes-Benz W123 S-Class, 1979 to 1991. When Mercedes-Benz set out to build the W123 S-Class during the late 1970s, they apparently decided that cost-cutting was a profane phrase that should never be uttered in polite German engineering company. This wasn't merely luxury transportation. It was an engineering manifesto written in steel and leather that declared absolute war against the entire concept of mechanical failure. The over-engineering was pathologically extreme by any rational business standards. Doors closed with bank vault authority that made competing luxury cars sound like aluminum cans crushing. The paint wasn't simply applied, it was systematically layered like Renaissance artwork with primer, base coat, color coat, and clear coat applications that could survive nuclear testing without degradation. The engines were constructed with tolerances so incredibly tight that Mercedes required specialized clean rooms just to properly assemble them. These weren't high-strung performance engines. They were under-stressed masterpieces that could cruise at 80 miles per hour continuously while barely breaking mechanical sweat. Here's the absolutely beautiful insanity. Mercedes lost substantial money on every single W126 they manufactured. The engineering investment, materials, and bloody-minded perfectionism was economically suicidal by conventional business standards. They completely forgot they were supposed to be a profitable corporation and decided to become a charitable organization for people who demanded immortal luxury automobiles. One extensively documented Nigerian diplomat accumulated 923,000 verified miles on his 1985 560 SEL over 23 years of diplomatic service. When he finally sold it, every single system continued working perfectly. Climate control, power seats, even the original Becker radio functioned flawlessly. Well-maintained W126s regularly appear in developing nations as high-end taxis with 700,000 plus miles, still purring like mechanical aristocrats who refuse to acknowledge mortality. Number 1. 1966 Volvo P1800. At the absolute pinnacle sits the ultimate automotive legend, and honestly, nothing else even comes remotely close. Irv Gordon's 1966 Volvo P1800 didn't just break existing records, it completely obliterated them and kept driving for decades. This wasn't merely built to last, it was systematically engineered to redefine what automotive immortality could possibly mean. Irv Gordon purchased his bright red P1800 brand new in 1966 as a 25-year-old schoolteacher looking for reliable transportation. 52 years later, when he passed away in 2018, that identical Volvo had accumulated an absolutely mind-bending 3.2 million verified miles, officially certified by Guinness World Records and documented obsessively throughout decades of faithful service. The numbers are absolutely insane. Gordon averaged over 125,000 miles annually for 3 consecutive decades. He drove that car through all 48 continental United States, across Canada multiple times, and throughout Europe on numerous occasions. The P1800 became his life companion, mobile office, and rolling testament to Swedish engineering excellence that defied rational explanation. The B18 engine represented a masterpiece of understated mechanical brilliance. Dual overhead cams when competitors used primitive push rods, forged internal components when others used cast parts, and cooling systems specifically designed for sustained high-speed operation across continents. This wasn't a delicate sports car engine. It was industrial-strength equipment cleverly disguised as automotive machinery. Here's what makes this story absolutely legendary. Gordon meticulously documented everything. Every single oil change, every repair, every mile driven. When Volvo engineers finally studied the car, they discovered the engine remained within original factory specifications after 3.2 million miles of continuous operation. The cylinder walls showed minimal wear, the crankshaft was perfect, and the transmission shifted exactly like new. Volvo didn't just build Gordon a reliable car, they accidentally created a mechanical time machine that proved Swedish engineering could transcend normal automotive physics. When Gordon passed away, Volvo immediately purchased the car to preserve it forever, as genuine automotive history. This P1800 didn't just survive, it thrived, becoming living proof that sometimes automotive perfection is actually achievable. If you're amazed by these automotive legends, drop a comment telling us which car shocked you most, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible automotive history.